Hey, I'm Lana from Lana Glowshot Art, and in this video, we're unboxing the July 2026 SketchBox. This month's box is all about playing with watercolor. Ready to get into it? Let's go. The surface in this month's box is the Academy Cold Press Watercolor Paper by Rockwell. This 100% cotton paper is acid-free and it has a substantial weight of 300 GSM, so it can handle plenty of water and multiple layers of paint, all while resisting warping and buckling. We also have the SketchBox Signature Watercolor Travel Set. This portable tin includes 12 pans of professional light-fast watercolors. These colors were specifically chosen as part of our collaboration with Willow Wolfe and were curated to give you a versatile range of colors for painting the world around you. The brush included in this month's box is the Willow Wolfe No. 5 Round Siren Brush. This brush features an innovative blend of synthetic squirrel fibers. The fibers are responsive and allow you to create both broad washes and fine details. The prompt for this month is Hummingbird. So let's warm up with these paints by illustrating a trumpet vine flower, a plant that hummingbirds absolutely love. I begin with pure lemon hue and block in the shape of the flowers using very simple strokes. Then I quickly mix up cad red pale with lemon yellow hue to create a rich orange. While the paint is still wet, I work this mixture into the base of the flowers to create soft blending and to add depth. While the flowers are drying, I mix up a soft green for the leaves and the stem. I start with sap green and then I lower the intensity with a bit of cad red pale. Remember how we used a mother color in the June 2026 video to keep our palettes harmonious? Mixing cad red pale into both of these color mixtures is that concept in action and allows us to create a more unified look. When you paint the leaves and stems, keep them simple. For the stems, use a light thin stroke, and for the leaves, think press, pull, lift. This motion creates a tapered leaf shape with a single brush stroke. Once that first layer is dry, I mix up cad red pale with permanent rose and begin adding a darker layer wherever I imagine shadows would naturally occur, particularly near the tops of the flowers, around the stem attachment points, and deeper inside the blooms. These small additions of contrast help give the flowers more dimension and form. Next, we have the Winsor & Newton 0.5 Black Fine Liner. This pen features water-resistant ink with a consistent and reliable ink flow. Fine liners can be a wonderful addition to watercolor because they allow you to combine drawing and painting elements in the same piece. Here, I'm sketching a columbine flower, and after the ink here has dried, I can apply watercolor directly over the top. This purple mixture is made with ultramarine and permanent rose. The ink drawing provides structure and allows me to be much more loose and playful with my paint over the top. Next, we have a special bonus paint, a 5 milliliter tube of Daniel Smith Iridescent Electric Blue. This artist-grade watercolor reflects light and creates a shimmering effect across the surface, adding extra sparkle and dimension to your paintings. One of the things I really enjoy about iridescent watercolors is that they continue to shimmer even when you mix them with other colors. Here I've created two new shimmery colors, a violet by mixing the electric blue with permanent rose, and a blue-green by mixing it with the sap green. This is a fun way to introduce a little more visual interest into your colors. Once this layer is dry, I'm returning back with the fine liner to add some detail. And when I do that, I'm not worried about perfectly tracing every shape I painted. Instead, I'm responding to the shapes that emerge during the painting process and using the pen to refine the forms, add detail, and create emphasis where I want the viewer's eye to go. I actually think it's really beautiful when the paint spills beyond the lines in a few places. That contrast between controlled drawing and loose watercolor creates a playful quality that works really well with these botanical subjects. Now let's use all of these supplies together to create a study of a foxglove flower, another plant that hummingbirds are naturally attracted to. For these flowers, I started with a diluted mixture of permanent rose and alizarin crimson, and I blocked in several bell shapes. And for the shadow areas, I used a less diluted version of this mixture with a touch of iridescent electric blue. In this illustration, I'm imagining that the light is coming from above, so there will naturally be shadows where the flowers overlap one another and deeper shadows towards the flower openings. I painted these darker colors into the still wet first layer so that the edges would soften and blend naturally. When I'm creating a loose watercolor painting, I don't usually copy my reference exactly. Instead, I use it as inspiration to understand the overall shapes and structure of my subject. In this reference, I noticed that there weren't any prominent leaves, and that most of the green appeared near the stem. To paint these areas, I used a light touch, and I made sure that the pink layer was completely dry before adding in the green. This will help keep the colors clean and prevents unwanted bleeding. For my second layer in the flowers, I returned with more concentrated pinks and purples to deepen the shadows and to create a greater sense of volume. Once I was happy with those shapes, I added small dots in a darker purple color to give the flowers that quintessential foxglove appearance. At this point, you can absolutely leave your painting as is. Watercolor can have a beautiful freshness when it stands on its own. But if you want more of that illustrative look, you can allow the painting to dry completely and then come in with your fine liner. Adding pen details is a great option if you feel more comfortable with drawing than painting, if you want to emphasize certain shapes and textures, or if there are a few areas you'd like to refine. The pen can provide structure while still allowing the watercolor to remain loose and expressive. Our final item in this month's box is another part of our collaboration with Willow Wolfe. Here we have one of Willow's Hummingbird designs printed on watercolor paper. Premium SketchBox subscribers have access to an exclusive instructional video created by Willow where you can learn techniques for completing this piece. Be sure to check out this video description for a direct link to that tutorial, and don't forget to use the code included on your insert so you can access it at no additional cost. Now, let's use all the supplies in this box to complete our own hummingbird painting. I started this piece by selecting a few photos to use as references. Here I have a photo of a hummingbird that will let us play with that amazing iridescent electric blue, along with a second reference photo that I can use for inspiration when adding flowers that aren't included in the original hummingbird image. As you sketch out your composition, start with those most basic shapes and prioritize the placement of your major elements before getting into details. If your pencil lines end up getting a little too dark during this stage, I recommend lightening them with a bit of kneaded eraser before you begin painting. As you play with your materials this month, I strongly encourage you to experiment with different compositions. Try using different hummingbird references and pairing them with a variety of flowers in the background. Some paintings might work exactly the way you envisioned, while others might not turn out quite as you hoped, and that's completely part of the process. With each attempt, you'll learn something new about color, composition, and design. After my sketch was complete for this piece, I moved on to the background. I started by wetting the paper and dropping in a combination of pale peach and lemon yellow hue. I avoided using any of this wash in the bird area because it would dilute the blues that I plan to use in the feathers later on. But I did cover the rest of the background because I feel that this yellow will work beautifully with the flowers that I'll be adding later in the lower left corner. The iridescent electric blue is the primary color that I'm using for the hummingbird, but I also nudge it with a bit of sap green and alizarin crimson to create some subtle color variation in this first layer. Whenever I want to keep my colors from bleeding into one another, I make sure that the previous layer is completely dry before I add any more paint. For the leaves in the background, I mixed sap green and khaki green to create a soft, natural color, and I painted in simple leaf shapes that help frame the subject. This part of the process is fairly intuitive and isn't necessarily planned in my initial sketch. I'm simply paying attention to where the greenery feels balanced while intentionally keeping it simple so it doesn't compete with the hummingbird. For the flowers, I started with a wash of Cad Red Pale, and I intentionally varied the opacity of this layer, allowing more of the yellow background to show through in some areas. This creates a sense of depth and luminosity. And then, just like our warm-up exercise, I dropped in more concentrated red while the paint was still wet to create those soft, organic, wet-on-wet blends. Now, while those flowers are drying, I return to the bird for a second pass of paint. Unlike the flowers, I'm using short strokes here to suggest the texture of feathers. I also keep the colors darker along the underside of the belly to create more depth and form. At this point, I let the entire painting dry completely before coming in with my fine liner to add details to the hummingbird and the flowers. Because this fine liner is waterproof, I can use it at any stage of the process and continue painting afterward without worrying about ink bleeding. As I work with my pen, I don't outline every edge. Instead, I focus on the areas that need the most contrast and attention. For this piece, that meant emphasizing the hummingbird and flowers while leaving the background greenery untouched. Selective line work often feels more natural than outlining everything, and broken lines can help guide the viewer's eye through the composition without making the piece feel overly rigid. At this point, I stepped back and I thought about what the painting still needed. And I looked at an earlier version of this painting that had a darker background that I didn't like very much. For this version, I wanted something brighter and more luminous, so I introduced a stronger yellow into the background. I even painted over portions of the vines to push them back further and to reinforce the hummingbird as the focal point. Finally, I deepened a few shadows within the bird and refined some details in the flowers. These last adjustments helped me tie the entire painting together while strengthening the focal point and creating a greater sense of depth throughout the piece. I hope you learned a ton about working with watercolor, and we can't wait to see what you create. So be sure to use the hashtag SketchBoxJuly when you post your work online. For more unboxing videos and tutorials, you can check out our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.